June 6, 1944, aka D-Day. Now this day changed the course of World War II, but what if history took a different turn? What if the Germans beat back the Allies on that fateful day? Now, D-Day was a critical turning point in World War II. The success of the Allied landings in Normandy marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. But what if the Germans had successfully repelled the invasion? The consequences would have been profound and far-reaching. And so on D-Day, the Allies faced formidable defences, right? The Germans, under the command of Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, had fortified the beaches with bunkers, mines and artillery. The Allies knew the risks, but they also knew that success was essential for opening a new front in Western Europe. But here's one. What if the German commander, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, had been present during the initial hours of the D-Day landings? Now remember, Rommel was away from the front lines, celebrating his wife's birthday when the invasion began. Now his absence played a significant role in the German response time, and if Rommel had been on the scene, his immediate tactical decisions could have been decisive. Known for his swift and aggressive tactics, Rommel's presence might have allowed the Germans to launch more effective counterattacks, utilising their armoured divisions more efficiently and coordinating a stronger, faster response to the Allied landings. Now having the famous General Rommel present on D-Day could have changed the dynamic significantly. He was a master of defence-in-depth strategy and could have potentially plugged the gaps that the Allies exploited. Now his leadership on the ground might have resulted in even heavier Allied casualties and a more robust German defence. Now imagine this, everything goes perfect for the Germans. The German defences holding strong, inflicting heavy casualties on the invading forces. The beaches of Normandy become a graveyard for Allied soldiers, their landing craft destroyed and their morale shattered. So in this alternative history, the failure of D-Day has immediate repercussions. The Allied command scrambles to reassess their strategy, faced with the grim reality that their best laid plans have fallen apart. So the failure at Normandy would have had a domino effect. With the Allies unable to establish a foothold in France, the liberation of Western Europe would be delayed indefinitely. Now this would give Nazi Germany a significant strategic advantage. With the threat of invasion diminished, Germany could focus on bolstering its defences and continuing its war efforts on the Eastern Front. Resources previously diverted to defend against the Allies in the West could now reinforce their lines against the Soviet Union and turn the tide in that war too. As the Soviet Union, already bearing the brunt of the war, would face an even more formidable German army. The prolonged conflict would lead to greater devastation and loss of life on the Eastern Front as well. Now the political landscape of Europe would also shift. The failure on D-Day could embolden Hitler, reinforcing his belief in Germany's ultimate victory. Now the morale boost for the Axis powers could prolong the war and strengthen their resolve. The impact wouldn't stop at the beaches of Normandy or the Eastern Front. Now the fighting in Italy would also feel the reverberations of a failed D-Day. Now remember, at this time, the Allies had already invaded part of Italy and were on their way north through the peninsula. And at the time of D-Day, the Allies were engaged in a grueling campaign up the Italian peninsula. With a failure in Normandy, the Germans could redirect their forces and reinforcements to fortify their positions in Italy, making an already difficult campaign even more challenging. And so the increased German presence would intensify the fighting in Italy, leading to the higher casualties and slower progress for the Allies. Key battles such as the ones at Monte Cassino and the Anzio beachhead would have become even more desperate and prolonged. The strategic significance of Italy would grow in this scenario. With the Western Front delayed, the Allies might be forced to divert even more troops and resources to the Italian campaign, stretching their capabilities and complicating their overall war strategy. And for the poor Italian civilians, the prolonged conflict would mean more suffering and destruction. The dream of liberation would be deferred, as the Allies struggled to break through the strengthened German defences. Now, it is possible that the Allies would eventually regroup and plan another invasion, but the timeline would be uncertain. The failure at Normandy could lead to political pressure on Allied leaders, potentially altering the course of the war's leadership and strategy, as a failed invasion of Normandy could mean the outing of Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the sole man who said he would take full responsibility if the landings had went wrong. And so in the occupied territories, resistance movements would face harsher crackdowns, and the hope of liberation would fade. The Nazi regime's brutal policies would continue unchecked, resulting in even greater suffering. Now, a German victory on D-Day would also have reshaped the world that we know today. The war would drag on, and untold consequences for millions. History, as we understand it today, would be unrecognizable. And while we can't change the past, exploring these different scenarios helps us appreciate the monumental significance of events like D-Day and what the world could have looked like if it was a different outcome. Now, the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought on June the 6th, 1944, ensured a future of freedom and peace that we must never take for granted. That should about do it for today, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more What If videos in the future.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds.
On the road to Berlin, to Tokyo, to a final victory.
I have a dream. This nation will rise up.
Go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.